Hello, and let's roll for discounts. No, roll for combat. I don't know whatever. What are we rolling for? I don't know. Something. Test. Whoops! I gotta turn on your audio because it never works.
Muted this time.
There we go. Now you're working.
Hello.
Ugh.
I mean, you say we're always rolling for combat, though, even if we're rolling for diplomacy.
Ugh. Like, I don't know what's going on with my computer. Hopefully this works because
yeah, we're using a different form of video sharing than usual because the Zoom has broken.
That's actually not what I'm even talking about. What I'm talking about is that for some reason my computer had an upload speed of like nothing.
What?
Yeah, it had no upload speed.
That's not good.
And
upload of 0.
Why? I fixed it. It took a while, okay. But it would download fine, but upload, and I actually had to go into it just happened, and then I went into network settings, and in fact, it happened right before my stream on Sunday's game.
Oh wow!
And that was a fantastic game. It was they're right at the end. There's only like, I think there's 3 combats left, and that's it. And then Agents of Edgewatch is done. They have 3 more encounters. Nice. And the encounter they had was really, really, really good fight. It was, and it ended. I know we normally don't talk about this, but I'll tell, since I don't know if you can watch it, is that they were fighting. What's that? Oh, by the way, it is through cable, by the way. My computers are hardwired and everything. It would have to do with my network card. It had something to do with it was a setting of like trying to separate and send large packets, and I had to just turn it off, and it worked. It actually worked. It was kind of amazing. So they were fighting this guy. He was, oh my God, he was so nasty. Every round, if you were near him, you had to do a will save. DC 40, and if you failed, you were paralyzed for a round, and everyone had to do it every single round.
Really nasty.
Well, it gets worse,
but it's high level, so
yeah, it's high level. He had this ability where he would do 60-10 damage to you, and then he would take a chunk off of you, and then he would, one action, he could then use the piece and heal himself 100 hit points, and it was no limit. He could do as much as he wanted, and he had 400 hit points, and let me tell you, he must have gone through 2,000 hit points because he just kept ripping pieces off everyone, and they got him down to 5 hit points, and then I'm like, he heals himself 105, and they're like, oh man, they were just, and he had regeneration. He had 25 regeneration. This guy he could not go down. So what happens? At the very end, he kept paralyzing the healer. He paralyzed the healer. The healer failed his roll. Seth must have failed 5 times. 5 times. And I felt bad for him, but he was fine. He's like, nope. And then what ends up happening is that the bad guy gets down to 8 hit points. Okay, 8 hit points, right? And he goes. And all he has to do is hit once, and then he could heal himself. I roll, and I miss. And I'm like, uh-oh. And then I roll again to hit, critical fail. I roll a 1. And they're like, oh, because it takes an action, so I can't even heal him. So I'm like, crap. Because if I couldn't hit, I couldn't take a chunk off him and heal for 100 hit points. And then, are you ready? I said, oh, screw it, I'll do it again. And I tried to hit one more time. Critical fail. I roll a 1. 2 ones in a row. Gets better. Then Seth goes. Seth the healer. And I was like, dude, and they know he only has he only has 8 hit points left. No, it gets better. Seth runs up to him and does shocking grasp. And I'm like, dude, why are you doing shocking grasp? It did 5 hit points of damage. That's it. 5 damage. And I'm like, dude, it's like, and it was a reflex save.
Level 20 and he did a first rank shocking grasp?
Yes. It was whatever it was, but I needed to do a reflex save. And I was like, dude, even if you hit, you can't kill him. He only has 8 hit points left. And I'm like, all right, fine. I do a reflex save. Critical fail. He did 10 points of damage, and he killed them. So I rolled 3 1s in a row. And tell you, Seth he was beaming. He's like, that's how you do it. He's like, you freeze me the whole combat. I walk up to you, I do 5 points of damage, and you die.
There you go.
And that's why it's fun to have total, like, in the open random die checks. And that was just a really fun epic fight. And the other two guys, the two fighters who literally were doing thousands points of damage, were like, come on,
kill or
come
something.
on. Yeah, they were like, they couldn't believe. They're like, really? But yeah, that's it. Yeah, they literally only have, it's one of these, it's a very Mario level where there's literally a door, and in the door is 3 slots, and you have to find 3 items and insert one of the 3 items in each slot. Okay. And then you open up the door, and there's 4 bad guys, and you're fighting the reincarnated forms of the first 3 bad guys. So I was like, this is a video game. Or as Seth's like, he goes, oh, looks like we're doing the greatest hits. I'm like, I guess so. And then, so they killed 2 of them. Now they're up to the last one. They're going to kill 1 more. And then there's another encounter, and then they open up the door, and they literally fight the boss, and that's it. And then it literally is over. The game will be over. I'm actually curious because I looked at it. I was building it last night, and it's like, wow, I don't know, man. She's like level 22, 23, and she's got 4 18th level minions. And I'm just like, can they handle it? I don't know if they can handle it. Maybe. I don't know. It's going to be really hard. It's like
they probably can, but we'll see.
I don't know. This she ain't fooling around. Like this the big bad boss it's got Miracle, you know. It's got it's like everything she has is just terrible. It's just, I was like looking at it, I was like, yeah, this is really bad. So
I guess people have to find out by watching.
She has an artifact. She has a level 25
episodes
artifact.
of the Roll for Combat Agents of Edgewatch podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm looking at her now.
There you go.
No, she's level 23. And actually, no, she has 4 minions that are level 17. That's level 17.
The minions are pretty weak.
Yeah, they're pretty
They're going to help. They're going to still help.
They help. There's 4
can do some stuff.
There's 4 of them. That's the problem, is that 4. The good news is it's in a huge room. Like, the room is gigantic. But I'm just looking at what she has. She has dagger. I was like, dagger, really? But she's
I think that's the sacred weapon of Norgorber.
Yeah, she has that's right. She has Cane of the Maelstrom. She has Miracle. She has Foresight. She has a Moment of Renewal. Finger of Death. Slow. Slow is bad. That's like the worst one. True Seeing, Change Shape, Sneak Attack. Yeah, maybe she's not too bad. But she can warp weave you. That's pretty bad. So anyhow.
Today we're going to be talking about Diamond again, but not just what happened to Steven with Diamond, but why Diamond is so deeply connected to the industry more than people think it is, and why what happening with Diamond is going to be really bad, like on top of the fact that they maybe are seizing all the consigned inventory.
Yeah, we'll talk about it and you guys can ask questions. But before we do that, today's like a news show. A couple things. First of all, let's get through a couple items. So we're going to be at Gen Con, and we're in the middle and the back. So I think
so you go all the way to the back, and if you're in the center, you'll see us.
Yeah, we are. We're actually like literally right in the middle back. It's, I think, booth 2908, something like that. But we're going to be giving out a lot of things. There's so many things. We're giving out these pins, and you could just, there's going to be a dice tower. And if you come up and if you roll a 1 or a 20, you get a pin, and you get some other, there's more things. So it's like, how many, Mark was the king of giving out. How much stuff did you give out at PAX East? You gave out a lot.
I gave out a lot of goodies at PAX East. There were all sorts of different prizes. And honestly, we learned from that. And I think we're going to have more categories of prizes this time, because last time we had like a wheel of which prize you would get. And a lot of the things on the wheel were the same. But this time we have enough different weird things that I think we're going to have
it's going to be a lot of dice. It'll still be a lot of dice.
But I saw you added more things that we have. So I think there's going to be even more than at PAX East of different things that you might get. I saw you sent me pictures of some of the different things that are going to be in there. It's not a lot more than different things, but it's more.
I got to figure out how to get that stuff there. It's a pain. That's the worst part.
The transportation and shipping costs are more than people think for these conventions.
Well, the secret is I gave all my stuff to Derek.
And
Derek did a dry. He did a dry run of his car yesterday. He packed his car to make sure he can fit it. And the thing is, smart. I'm like, wow, it's still not even enough. So here's how bad it is. I have Derek bringing stuff, right?
Aren't you gonna have like Professor Dungeon Master bring
you ruined it. You ruined the surprise. Yes, I have Derek bringing stuff. I have Lurking Fears bringing all my books. And then I have Professor Dungeon Master who lives near me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to run over here because he's driving. And I was like, you're driving? How much room you got? And he's like, oh, I can take like 2 cases. So I was like, dude, I'll be over your house this weekend. I'm like, I'm going to give you stuff to bring. He's like, oh, okay. And I was like, who else do I know? Who else is, if anyone's in the New York area and you're driving to Gen Con, let me know.
Steven will give you boxes of stuff.
Well, I'll tell you why. Look at this. Wait, those pins I just showed you?
Yeah, they're heavy when you put a lot of them in a box.
Oh, my God. Oh.
Look at that.
Look at this thing.
That's a lot of those pins. Because who knows how many people are going to roll at 1 or 20.
Yeah, look at it. It's like, yeah, these things are so heavy.
Steven doesn't fool around when it comes to giving free things to people. He always wants it to be high quality beveled pins. They're always like heavy. They're not made of flimsy materials.
They gave me free socks with my pin. So.
There you go.
I don't know why that's in there. But that's the problem is they charge you by weight. Well, all shipping is by weight. So anyhow. Yeah, you have a 1 in 10 chance because it's 2 different pins.
You think that you have a 1 in 10 chance because you do independently. Each person has a 1 in 10 chance. But the law of large numbers is that you're going to have something close to 1 in 10, but it can be farther than you think. You could wind up needing significantly more than 1 in 10 or less than 1 in 10 just by weird probabilistic chance. So you have to be careful not to have too few. But also, if you have too many, you have to bring them back. It's actually a tricky logistical hurdle. We're really looking forward to seeing all of you who are going to be at Gen Con. Steven has a lot of special stuff he's doing at the booth. He's getting it's going to be like signings, and you can come find people at the booth who aren't even just us. It's going to be a really good time.
It's going to be too much. Because on top of that, we are launching the Shadowdark RPG finally in 2 weeks. Not
the Shadowdark RPG, the Shadowdark Kickstarter.
The Shadowdark RPG Battlezoo Kickstarter. The Shadowzoo Kickstarter.
Shadowzoo.
And that's July 22nd finally. It seemed like a good idea at the time to launch it during Gen Con, but I don't know if that was such a good idea because next week I have to go to California as well. So it's a lot, and then we leave literally we got there on Tuesday. Like I'm at Gen Con for an entire week. I'm away.
So am I. Steven has me coming in on Tuesday too. So, and I'm leaving on Monday because the Sunday night flight is like $500. So, and it's not even a guarantee that we make it to that flight after teardown. So we're leaving on Monday as well. So it is an entire week, Tuesday through Monday, that we'll be in Indianapolis. Although 2 of those are travel days.
So we have that. But yeah, the Shadowdark. All I know is that I can't believe. I don't know why. I'm just stupid. I think I'm just dumb. I just can't stop adding stuff because the Shadowdark.
You are overly ambitious. I will say it's not a lack of intelligence. You're just excited. You want to make people's stuff awesome, and you get a lot of joy out of giving people good things that they're gonna like, even if it's not like a strictly like budgetary thing. And so I think that that's part of why people like us as a company, is that you're always increasing the quality, increasing the content, even after people have bought it and you said it was 100 pages. Sometimes you add 10 more pages of cool stuff. And that's just who you are as a person.
Well, Shadowzoo is going to be just cool. Like, the books are big. I rewrote all the text yet last night. I got into a zone. I got to send it to you, Mark. I did it in the style of Shadowdark, so it's all like kind of grimdark now. Because before I was like,
I actually saw some of what you sent me, and it seemed like it was actually not even in the style of Shadowdark.
No, that's
more grim than the Shadowdark. Well, it was actually more in the style of some other.
I rewrote
stuff.
The entire page. You didn't see. I rewrote the entire Kickstarter last night.
You sent me an excerpt at some point. Stuff. Maybe it was a screenshot that that I saw that was
I'm
rewritten,
going crazy,
and it was way more grimdark than the Shadowdark writing. It actually reminded me more of some more in-your-face writing styles that you see. Apocalypse World is one of the first ones that's famous for having done that, but some OSRs do it too.
Well, that's how I'm doing it, because I was like, because I don't know, I just kind of got into this mode, and I was like, I'm going to make this whole thing grimdark, very Shadowdarky, and
it's funny because like our content that's actually in the books is not really grimdark. At all.
No. But not only that, I can write this stuff. I don't know why. I must have something in me, because you
have a grimdark narrator just lurking in your brain, because you write really good like grimdark narrator stuff. But your stuff is is grimmer and darker even than the Shadowdark tone.
No, this is way I was like,
your stuff is always like these are not brutal heroes. These are just those who have survived the harsh and unforgiving world of
here's what
horrors.
I wrote. Because originally it was like, this is like what the books are. It says originally it was like published by Roll for Combat. The 3 Battlezoo secret tomes will, enter your, allow your Shadowdark campaigns to expand and use. And it was like that. It was like the standard crap we always have. But then I rewrote it to published by Roll for Combat. The 3 Battlezoo secret tomes will plunge your Shadowdark campaigns into deeper, deadlier darkness, unleashing hundreds of award-winning monsters, brutal new player options, and new rules forged for the torchlit crawl. It's like,
there you go. That's just it's very evocative. I like it. It's like
each book is carved from the bones of the Forgotten Realms.
Maybe don't use exactly the words Forgotten Realms, because I think that is like a wizard's trademark, but
it's a generic enough. It's like having Strange and Unusual peels back the veil of reality, revealing creatures warped by madness and classes that twist the rules of magic, flesh, and reason itself. I don't know. I was in a weird mood last night, so.
It's funny because if people back it because they think it's going to be like the Morkborg of Shadowdark, and it's like, no, it's like not that grimdark. Some of the monsters are actually very whimsical and fun.
Yeah, I know. I kind of went. Well, I did come up with a way better tagline for the Monster Chef. Wait, what is it? Mm-hmm. The Monster Chef. I wrote, Monster Chef, hunt it, kill it, eat it.
That's an amazing tagline.
I know. I was like, wow. I wish we came up with that one before. What a good tagline. Hunt it, kill it, eat it. The Monster Chef
very simple, and people can understand, like Delicious in Dungeon or any of those other things.
I know. It's like the Monster Chef turns monster meat into meals that warp the mind and body. Some dishes heal, others ignite strange powers. All require a stomach made of iron and madness. Anyhow, that is coming out, and there's the contest, which we're doing, but there's a big surprise. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, you guys, no one knows what it is. Mark knows what it is, but when you guys see it, it's a big surprise. A big surprise in 2 weeks. Big surprise. Anyhow, so we actually had some other real news. Sorry, my computer's acting weird. First of all,
that's Steven admitting that this was fake news, I guess.
That was fake news. No, like this news. No, this was like real news, as in, well, this was news for us. I don't know if you saw Cynthia Williams. She was fired. She was fired from Funko. So that's 2 jobs. She was let go.
I did not see that. But why is that news from Funko? Now that she's in Funko, does it really even matter?
Not really, but it's kind of fascinating that she was. I think she was let go from Wizards. She did not gracefully exit, and now she also was. And Funko was doing horribly. It's just they lost 27 million last quarter, and then they lost a 16% decline, and it was. It's just. I mean, I know a lot of it is part of like what's
Wouldn't
going on
you
in
have
the world.
expected Funko to do badly at this point, just based on what they're selling and like all that kind of stuff is doing badly?
Perhaps, but that's why she was brought in. She was supposed to fix it. Like if you're going to bring in a new CEO, what you do is you sit down and you sit with them and you say, okay, we're doing terrible. Here's all the problems we have. This is what's going on with tariffs and everything going on in the world. How do you fix it? And she had to have a plan. Like you don't just get hired and they hope that you're going to fix it. Like you need to come up with an actual plan of attack. And who knows? I'm just kind of amazed. I guess it didn't work. The other thing, which was just announced today, is D&D announced that they're shifting to a franchise model, and Dan Albu was named the head. It just says head. I don't know what the head. It literally just says head. Wizards of the Coast has shifted D&D to a quote. They're calling it a franchise model. As former senior VP of digital games Dan Albu was named new VP of franchise. There we go. So,
isn't it Ayub and not Abu?
Ayub.
There's a Y before the B at the very least.
Okay, Ayub. They said they're going to franchise everything. They have a new model where they're going to franchise D&D into books, video games, film, and TV. Didn't we say they were going to do this for months now? Like,
yeah, you did. And
like,
you said that, and you can see very clearly that film and TV, like there's 4 pillars of this, one of which is film and one of it's just TV.
Yeah.
And that gives film and TV an equal number of like mentions in here. It's not like they broke down the books into like books and virtual tabletop and other things like that. If you look at the weight that they're looking at things from the top level down, it's like you were saying where you thought they were going to focus more on film and TV.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, it's not really franchise because a franchise, they use the word franchise wrong, by the way, because franchising is like a franchise model where I won't get it. You can look up the definition, but that's not a franchise. What they really meant is they're doing well, I guess they could do it if they're doing franchising. Yeah, maybe. Well, what happens is it's like if you're a franchise, so what happens is like, I want to do a D&D, I don't know. I want to do a D&D bumper, not a bumper sticker, t-shirt. Okay, I want to do D&D t-shirts. I have a t-shirt company, and they will sell you a license. Like they will say, okay, you can use all of these official products, and here's the license, and here's the fee. So that's a franchise fee. So you can have it, but that's a licensing fee. That's not franchise. Franchise is like McDonald's, actually Burger King. Burger King's are franchises, is where you get the support of a head office, and then you have to pay like $1 million, and you set up a store, and then you literally have a franchise that you make money off of, and you have all the support of Burger King, but it's yours, not theirs. You have to follow their rules, otherwise they can take it away.
And their rules allow them to do a lot of things where they like force you to pay a bunch of money to get like exact things that they want you to at any time. I know that it can be tough for franchisees. Yeah. So yeah, franchisees. By the way, if you want to see a movie, I will tell you one of the greatest movies to see that no one's ever seen. It's called The Franchise. It is about how McDonald's became McDonald's. It is excellent. It stars Michael McKean, and it shows how Michael McKean, he plays Ray Kroc, and how he discovered McDonald's and turned it into what it is today. And it's actually quite genius. I read a book about Ray Kroc and the kind of scummy stuff that he did, but it was not called the franchise. So I guess there are a lot of people who want to write about that kind of
well, this is a movie
history.
And what really made him fat, what he did that beat everyone is that because franchisees wouldn't list, he started a franchise model. Oh, sorry, the founder. Sorry, not the founder.
Oh,
it's
the founder. Okay.
The founder.
I have heard of the founder. You recommended it before.
Yeah, the founder.
Which also surprised me because I was like, this is like the second Ray Kroc movie that Steven is, or Roy Kroc.
The secret of McDonald's is that they own the land. That's what they did. So what they did is that because what happened is like these McDonald's were not following their rules and they were just doing whatever they wanted. So they bought up the land and then the franchises would go on their land. So if they didn't agree to what they were doing, they would just they would literally take away their land. And also by owning land, think about every single McDonald's you see, they own the land on. They are worth so much money just by the land. Just the land alone is worth billions. It's kind of brilliant. So
we got a super chat from Blade Ribbon that said, wait, Dan Ayub is former 343 Industries. Uh-oh, there goes the brand.
He is from 343 Industries. So, anyhow, I guess we'll find out. But you know what? He doesn't even need to know anything about Dungeons and Dragons to do what his job is. His job is to get the brand out and to have it repurposed and reused in various ways. But they are having a TV. They are having the Netflix stuff. So I want to see that. You know, that movie, the more I watch, first of all, that movie was fantastic. And it also made money. It did very well after. It's one of those movies that very well after. And I could see them doing a sequel.
Did it make money even after the advertising and marketing campaigns?
It broke even. It broke even at best. Okay. But they wanted it to do more. It also released.
You know what? If it broke even and got their brand out there and started things off, like that's not terrible. But of course, if you keep going, you generally do worse as you continue than you do on your first one.
Well, yeah. Also, they spend too much. They wanted it to be. You could see all these movies, like movies that will literally make $500 million and they're upset. You know, I see it all the time. They're like, how much did it made? It's like, well, made $1 billion. It's like, it did okay. I'm like, really? Like they thought it was like, yeah, but we expecting to make $2 billion. So we're upset. You know, it's like, really, really? This happens all the time. This is very common, you know? So yeah, it did okay, but we expected it to do we expected it to be a worldwide massive hit. But it wasn't. You know, it was only it only made money. It wasn't like a huge blockbuster worldwide.
That's just like expectation settings though, right? Like depending on what your expectations are, you can always be disappointed by a massive success. I mean, our Kickstarters pretty much always do 6 figures, no matter what, which is it's hard to do on Kickstarter on some of these topics. But if you have your expectation is but it didn't make millions of dollars like Avatar Legends or something like that. It's sure, but why even have that expectation? Just have a reasonable expectation and be happy. I feel like the problem is though that they budgeted for that other expectation in Hollywood, and then they lost money because they assumed they could make billions and billions.
So by the way, we have a super chat. It says, why doesn't Paizo try to partner with media companies for Pathfinder TV show? They did. They had a Pathfinder TV show. Do you remember what it was called, Mark?
Are you talking about an actual show on TV, or are you talking about streaming?
Well, it was an actual show and it was on TV.
Do you mean cable or other things, or do you mean that you can put it on your TV via YouTube or a streaming service? Because they had the Bowman did the Knights of Everflame.
No, not that.
Then there was also Harmon Quest,
which
was on
that counts.
But that wasn't on TV. That
was
on
it was.
No, counts. It wasn't. It was on a Sony streaming service.
That counts. What's TV anymore? More people have some streaming services than actually cable. People don't. It counts, man. Anything. That counts. Okay, that was part of Hollywood. It was.
And it's currently on Crunchyroll.
Yeah,
you can get it there. But
yeah. And
if you count any streaming service, then yeah, it has Harmon Quest.
Harmon Quest.
There were some like
was
legitimate
excellent.
actors on Harmon Quest
Yeah.
who were doing things
Yeah.
with Pathfinder.
Yeah.
Now,
And it
was it like kind of not telling you that it was Pathfinder most of the time and just like vaguely put up a thing about it like real quick? Yes, but it was Pathfinder.
Oh, it was Pathfinder. Definitely Pathfinder. Look, that counts. You had to go through a Hollywood studio. It had to go through the unions. Eric Mona was in the audience when they filmed it.
Yeah, he totally was.
That's a real show, man.
It's a Pathfinder show at the very least. And look, there are people for like any fantasy IP. There are always people optioning other things in the background and doing talks, and then they circle around and around and around. That's happened for bigger IPs than Pathfinder.
Yeah.
And they sometimes take years and they don't equate to anything. And then like sometimes someone pays for an option and then doesn't use it, and someone else did want to use it, but the other person had the option. Like that's just how it goes until I think that honestly, some of those people there might have been people who were thinking about optioning Pathfinder who watched the D&D movie as a bellwether, and then when it didn't make billions and billions, they're like, yeah, nah, because this one isn't even D&D, right? I bet we would have been more likely to see a Pathfinder movie if the D&D movie did better. Did like really, really well. That's another thing that I was saying for the D&D movies. Like, I hope it does well, because then people make more movies about other tabletop RPGs potentially. Yeah,
but the Pathfinder video games did great. So they had those, and those are the Owlcat games are extremely acclaimed. So, but look, it's so different. You know what? Last night I watched a history of the Phantom Menace, of all things. And it was fascinating because they brought us back to 1999, and that was right before the internet just killed everything, because it was like people were still super excited and nobody knew what was going on, and not everyone had the internet, and people were dressing up and going to midnight showings and all this stuff. And I'm just like, that might have been the last time, that might have been the very last time, that right around there in Harry Potterdom, where people really got excited about fandom. And then also you didn't know that, hey, if I didn't see that movie, it'll be out on Netflix in 3 weeks. There was so much excitement. That's what it was about. It was about the excitement, the build up, and then of course the disappointment afterwards. But then the part at the end was like, well, really in the end, it's like, yeah, the movie stunk, but in retrospect, compared to what's coming out since then, it really wasn't that bad. And I say it all the time. I was like, boy, you thought it was bad then. Compared to some of the stuff that's out now, man, that it was fantastic compared to the garbage that's out now. Yeah, it's kind of sad, because now it's like you can have a biggest hit of a movie ever and no one would even know. Like, you just wouldn't even know. Like Avatar, no one talks about Avatar. Made like billions and billions of dollars. They're making another 4 of them. Pirates of the Caribbean. It's okay. Xander Z. I can't have my glasses on. It's messing up my camera because I put my hand up.
Yeah, maybe Xander the 11th.
Oh, the 11th.
I'm not sure.
Pirates of the Caribbean. Greatest movies of all time. Best special effects. Those are considered. The second movie is considered perhaps the absolute pinnacle of special effects ever for all movies. And if you watch it today, it not only holds up, it is better than pretty much all movies. Like, if you watch movies today, you're like, can't get over how good. And the music is so good. The storytelling. That first movie, that's up there. That's like in my top 5 best written scripts of all time, in my opinion. That first movie. Anyhow. So, back to Diamond. Oh, Diamond. I know I did this, but I was like, almost don't want to talk about it. It's so depressing. It's just like, because they have such a monopoly on getting books and comics out, that if they really do go under, and if they really stop distributing comics, it is such a loss. It's like so many people are going to go out of business.
A lot of medium to small comic companies, that was their distribution channel. I know that Marvel and DC have found their own ways
They have lots.
around it.
Well, they have like 6
But something like Dynamite, Dynamite is already in huge trouble based on what happened from Diamond. So like Diamond did not just like, we talk about tabletop RPG books as we make tabletop RPG books, and because Steven literally has hostage books that Diamond is possibly going to seize and sell for pennies on the dollar. But comics are probably, though, other than DC and Marvel, more messed up than tabletop RPG by this, because Diamond is a higher percentage of their sort of distribution channel, I think.
Well, this is the thing. Diamond would put out a magazine every month. They put out Previews magazine. This is a physical magazine, physically printed, and it's anywhere from 700 to 1,000 pages every single month. I don't know how I would talk to them. I was like, that sounds like the ninth circle of hell to me. Like, putting out a 700-page full color comic book magazine that has to have art on every page and advertising and be accurate because it's a sales sheet. How? Like, I don't think I'd ever sleep. I'm like, how is that possible? And they did it. I mean, you can get it now digitally, but they even said like they would have to put it out up to the last second, print it, and get it out to all the comic book stores. And that's how they would sell. And as myself, I could buy advertising in it if I wanted to. They would give you a certain, that's how they made money, by the way, is that you can advertise in their publications a higher percentage. You get some free advertising, but they also sold advertising. So that's how Diamond made some of their money. And that's how these comic book stores would then order, is that they would get these, if you ever wonder how it works, it's like they'd get these magazines. Here, wait, I'll show you. I mean, I'm sure you've all seen it. I don't have that here, but I have, here we go. Game Trade. So Game Trade magazine, this, I'm sure everyone's seen this, but this is Game Trade magazine. You can buy these. They're actually fun to just buy. And Game Trade magazine literally lists all the books that are coming out in the next couple of months. And in there, it has a description, but more importantly, it has what's called, this is a code here. You use that code and then the price. And then they pay 50%. They pay half that price. So whatever it's listed at, you pay half. So you get this, and this comes out every month, and it lists all the books and products that are coming out. Here's like Paizo. You can see what Paizo is coming out with. So Paizo has like their books. And here's some more Paizo stuff. Here's like their Starfinder stuff. So this is through Alliance, which, by the way, is owned by Diamond. But Alliance was sold off, so Alliance is not part
Alliance
of it.
Alliance separated off, and I've heard they're still doing fine. They're still paying their bills and everything, right? Now that they separated off?
I guess. I got to find out. I don't know if I got a check from them. Actually, I don't think I did. It's like, it's just such a mess. Because, like, this is, for better for worse, it is consolidated down to just a few people who distribute everything. There's other people besides Alliance, by the way. There's there's a couple of other companies, but they come out with this really nice magazine. And they also have a trade show that you can go to where you get to meet all the comic book and gaming stores. And here's like Starfinder. They put out an ad.
Yeah, the Alliance trade show was a nice, smaller thing than Gamma, but we definitely got to meet a good number of people there who we later saw at Gamma as well. And so I think that, I don't know, like those magazines and other works, it's clear to me from that, and just even from meeting them. I met some of the Diamond staff. I ran them through an adventure. I gave like speeches to some of them, had follow-up questions. The lower level Diamond employees, and this is true in a lot of companies.
By the way, those people you met, they're all gone. Every single one.
Oh, I know. I was about to say that they're all gone. That was going to be my next thing. All these companies that we talk about on this show, all of them pretty much as far as I know, the employees who are doing the job nose to the grindstone are often just like, they are nerdy. They know their stuff. There was like a lady who's like, I can get your stuff into libraries. Here's my plan. It was a really good plan. And they are just not at all involved with any of these decisions. Whenever we say like Diamond did this bad thing, it's never those employees. Those employees just want to do something good and want to get cool products out there. They're the ones getting screwed over. They're all fired in this case from Diamond at this point. None of them is left. And so when that's true, like pretty much any of the companies we talk about here, it's always some kind of executive stuff up at the top that is doing these shenanigans.
Well, the thing is it's all this knowledge that's lost. So like some of the people I worked with were at Diamond for 18 years. So they know all the ins and outs. They know all the secrets. So
that's a long time. That's longer than I've professionally been in the tabletop RPG industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I've been reading a lot of the comments, and a lot of people hated Diamond, and because they hated working with them. I actually thought they were fine to work with personally, but you know what?
I thought the people I interacted with, at the very least on the lower level, were they knew what they were doing. They had good ideas and they did stuff well. Maybe the deals and bargains that were being made at the top levels were bad to work with, I guess.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, be careful what you wish for, because you might just get it. It's like, okay, well, now they're gone. And now it's like, okay, they're basically going to be gone, which means all these comic book companies are going to go out of business, which means all these comic book stores are going to go out of business, which means comic book culture is gone as far as we know. It's going to pretty much wither and die or become extremely small and very...
Do you think it's possible that the power vacuum will be filled up by some other distributors? Or maybe not, because if Diamond seizes that much of their product, those comic companies will go out of business before they can even find another distributor.
No, it'll become like records are nowadays. Like records still exist, but they're a very niche industry. It's something that you can get as a collector's item. You know, it's just there's a lot of these
Haven't
industries.
Comics been moving towards that already?
Yes.
Since the heyday, since the golden age of comics, where you could always get them?
Yes and no. Here's where it gets really weird, because someone just mentioned something. So when I was meeting with Diamond, there was something fascinating that happened. Right during COVID, the TTRPGs have exploded. I think everyone who watches the show knows that. So Barnes & Noble was giving a larger portion of their store to D&D and TTRPGs, and they're ordering a lot more of them. And then they had too many of them, and they stopped ordering them, and they actually made those sections smaller. And the largest section at a Barnes & Noble by far is the manga. Manga is like not half, but it's a lot. It's like 10% of a Barnes & Noble. It's a huge amount of a Barnes & Noble. And they said, when I was talking to Diamond, is that manga is just exploding and it's taking off. But here's the thing. Manga, it's not American. So if anything, this was just like extra sauce. Like, they were already making a huge amount overseas in Japan and other countries, and then they're just making extra money here in America. So if Diamond dies off, those companies will be fine. Like, they're like, okay, yeah, they'll take a hit because now they don't have the same distribution. First of all, another company will take those up in a second. So like Simon and Schuster or Penguin, like they will take those up.
I'm sure
right
they'd
away.
love to have the manga, but they'd be like, oh, but these other comics, maybe not.
That's exactly what happened, because I was talking to people and they said when Diamond went out of business, all the other large publishers were making meetings with everybody, and a lot of those companies left Diamond. So the people that are left at Diamond were either ones that felt like they had a good deal and they didn't want to leave, or they were too small to go somewhere else. So now that's all that's left, is that people that are kind of too small to go somewhere else, and no one else really wanted to work with them. So this is going to kill off like the small scale indie comics and anything that's too small but that needed a distributor to hit their targets. Yeah. Whereas we're small, but we don't need a distributor to go to Barnes & Noble, because ultimately the number of our books that have been sold at Barnes & Noble are probably incredibly small. I know that my parents check in every Barnes & Noble and Books A Million, and I think they found one Roll for Comic product one time, and they were very excited. But
because they're always like, I thought you said you had these distributors.
They do. Well,
Why is it never there? And I'm like, well, Barnes and Noble can choose which ones they want to have. And then when I told them they saw about the bankruptcy, they're like, that doesn't even matter to you. It's never actually in Barnes and Noble. I was like, well, no, because the distributors have so many of the books.
Well, here's the other thing. They were doing Amazon for us too. They were doing Amazon for us, and they were doing Amazon for Paizo.
Oh, I thought you were doing your own Amazon
No,
store.
I had them do it because it's a pain in the ass. Amazon stinks. It's so hard to do. And here's the thing. This is why I wasn't too worried about Amazon. At the end of the day, it's called a race to the bottom. Is that if the way it works is that if I'm selling my book for $20, someone else will sell it for $19.98, and then I'll change it to $19.97, and then they change it to $19.96. It just keeps happening, right? And it's just they have automated tools, so they always are lower than you, and people always buy that lower book. But I'm like, wait a second, they're selling my book. It's not like I'm competing against them. They're selling my stuff, so I don't care if they sell it or I sell it. I'm still going to make money. It's not like they're getting the books from anyone else. They're getting it from me. They still have to buy the books from me to sell the books. So go at it, people. You want to sell stuff on Amazon? Go right ahead, because you're still selling my book. You know, you make more money if you sell it directly. But what a bad interface. I've never seen such a bad interface. If anyone is out there listening and you're good at Amazon, contact me. Like Amazon selling. It was fun for a little while when I had like 2 books, because Amazon also makes all their money, once again, is that you have advertising and you have placements and you have to and I'm like, oh my God. It's like, it's not enough that you have to get all your products onto Amazon. Then you have to advertise your products at Amazon. I was like, I am done. I'm like done. I'm like, look, you want to sell your stuff on Amazon? Go right ahead. You guys can sell all you want. So there you go. So yeah, they were handling Amazon for us, and they would do their own warehousing. You see, I think they didn't even do fulfillment, or they did something in fulfillment. But the best part is I didn't have to deal with it. I didn't have to deal with it. They would build the sites. They would deal with it all. They'd deal with the pricing, and yeah, I wouldn't make as much, but I didn't have to do anything. So, that's why Paizo said, because they had the same issue. They're like, well, can't do it anymore because we're on Amazon. I'm also with Amazon. So that's the thing. It's like Penguin had their hands in so many things. You're not even Penguin. I mean, Diamond had their hands in so many things you're not even aware of. And it's like, it's just a little part of the culture is going to die, and people are not going to, it's just going to happen. It's just going to one day just be gone, and you won't realize it. It's just like, I remember my favorite thing was going to KB Toys. Remember KB Toys in the malls?
I remember KB Toys, Steven.
And it was fun.
I remember too.
Yeah, it was fun to go just because my brother liked to buy. They had a lot of weird candy and crap in KBs, and he used to buy all that. He used to buy all that crap, and he loved buying candy. So he would buy all the weird stuff. I don't know if I ever really bought that much stuff in KB. I just kind of like going. It was just kind of fun. And then they were actually bought out by a VC firm, which is the exact same thing that happened to Toys R Us, where they basically buy these companies, load them up with debt, and then dump them and to kill the companies. I won't get into the math behind it, but it's very common.
Yeah, we've talked about that before on this channel a few times.
Yeah, and people are worried that that's what's happening to Diamond, that they're getting bought up, and then that's why because I'm like, they don't seem to care. They actually don't even seem to care about keeping anyone in business.
It would be bought up, and then the new purchaser would want to buy it while also ruining their entire relationship with all 128 companies that used them by saying they were going to sell things for pennies on the dollar. That I didn't think that who bought them before were vulture capital, but at this point, what else are they planning to do now that their reputation has been shot by making the claim that they're selling off all of people's stuff? Who's going to trust them anymore?
I know.
At that point, if you do, you're almost the frog carrying the scorpion across the river after the scorpion already stung you once and you somehow survived the poison and then came back and the scorpion's like, well, I won't sting you again. That whole situation was bad for both of us. And then you're like, all right, I'll carry you over the river again. It stings you again.
I mean, that's the problem. It's like, but each time one of these things happens, a small part of culture dies. Like when KB went out of business, it was like, well, now there's less toy stores, but at least you had Toys R Us. And I would go to Toys R Us a lot because my kids, I mean, now they're 18 and 20. We used to go all the time. Like it was a way to kill time. It was just fun to walk around. Believe it or not, they're very popular for baby things. We'd get a lot of baby stuff there. Then they went out of business. And that's what happens. It's like these stores, when they just go out of business, it's not just that they go out of business, but a culture of them goes out of business. And when Toys R Us,
culture shifts of things that were distributed in that way.
Right. When Toys R Us went out of business, I remember thinking, oh man, Mattel and Hasbro are fucked. And they were. I mean, that's actually was the beginning of the shift and the end for them, is that they had so much of their distribution through Toys R Us that losing them was a massive hit. And they've actually never recovered from that, quite frankly. I mean, yeah, they sell toys in like Target and other places, but it's not the same. Like you went to Toys R Us for one reason, it was a very specific store for a very specific need. You go to Target for a million reasons, So these comic book shops and game shops, when they go out of business because of Diamond, yeah, you'll still be able to find comics, but where? Like, direct mail order or just digital only? Or I don't even know where you would find them. I guess you'll find maybe compilations or just, large volumes at Barnes and Nobles and stuff. But even that's the thing. It's like when these distribution channels go out of business, it's really bad, because then the hobby itself of that distribution channel will die. And it's like people don't really think about that. So which is why when Mark and I first met, the first thing I told him, I was like, dude, we're going heavy digital only. Because I'm like, that is the future. And thank God we did, because we
have a very heavy digital presence. A lot of people would have been just like gone very strongly on physical for everything.
Yeah.
And I think even Kickstarter was raised their eyebrows when Steven did some campaigns that were like only digital. Mm-hmm. And then they were shocked. They were like, how did you make like 6 figures of money on a digital only Kickstarter? They just had never seen something like that, because they assumed everyone wanted physical. But Steven embraced digital for its pros and its understanding its downsides as well, because of his experience with so much in the tech industry. He's always supported getting things updated when they constantly have to get updated for things like Foundry. And as a result, I think that put us ahead of the ball for some of these other companies in being able to adapt to the changing situation.
Yeah, and that's also why, like, the Diamond it's painful and it's annoying and it's depressing, but in the end, it's a blip. It's just annoying. There is some good. I did a little video yesterday where I gave a little bit of an update. It's extremely complex. This is a very complex case, and I won't give the full details until week after, July 22nd, 21st.
So the
July
day
21st,
after we
July
launched
21st.
the Kickstarter.
Day before, July 21st. It's the Monday, July 21st is when arguments are being heard. And I can give more details, but very long story short is that Chase is trying to just take everything and just liquidate it. But the issue is that Diamond was still in business and doing business as usual after they declared Chapter 11. And now you basically think of it this way. You have all their products pre-Chapter 11. Oh, hey, I'm moving my hand. And then you have all their products post-Chapter 11. Those are separate. Like you can't cross the beams. Like the two have nothing to do with one another. And right now they can't just take, if I sent them inventory like a month ago, they have no right to that inventory. They can't just take that inventory and liquidate it, because that was not part of when they went out of business. That was part of me doing new business with the post bankrupt Diamond, and there's a big difference, and the court actually will recognize that. And so now
that sounds like one of the few times that you can actually win in a bankruptcy case. But the problem is it would still cost so much money to go to court,
so much
that you would not make the money back, because it's like what? It's like $100,000 to litigate it, and then you would get back books worth $120,000 if you sold them. But there's some chance you won't win, even though you have a strong case. So it's like
well, there's 120.
It's a system that's completely rigged against anybody who's not like the biggest possible companies. But at least that means that there's a good case for companies like Paizo, or I think one of the news outlets said that Catalyst had $500,000 of books in there. Any of those companies might be able to make that argument, and they'd have a good case.
Yeah, I mean, I put it out there so that other companies can use it, and there's several other arguments that we had that actually are pretty strong. The bad news is, like, anything before Chapter 11 is probably lost, but I sent about half of what they own. About 56% of what they have in their warehouse now was after they declared bankruptcy, and that's what I want back. I want all those books back. At the minimum.
Wouldn't it be nice only to lose $50,000 of books rather than $120,000 of books? I think that would be nice.
No, that's basically it. It's like, it's better than nothing, and but we'll see. There's a lot of people moving behind the scenes, and as I said, there's like companies who will go out of business if they fail. Like, if they don't succeed in getting their products back, they literally go out of business. So they're going to be fighting way harder than me. So we did our best, and at this time, it was almost like it's almost like being a rules lawyer or being a game designer. It was more of a thought experiment to figure out, like, okay, how can we win this? And we came up with some pretty good arguments, and we'll see. This is not Diamond going out of business and then liquidating everything, which is often what happens with these companies. And when that happens, you're screwed. Like, you lose everything. But they were still in business, and they're still doing business now. They're still working. So it's a mess. It's a big mess. So Agile Monk wrote something. We'll see D&D and Critical Role are finally going their separate ways. Did you mean to say they are officially? I actually saw something about that. So are they officially going their separate ways? Was that in the news? But there's still rumors. So the big news on that, if you didn't hear this, Mark, is that D&D did a stream with Legends of Avantras recently, and it was really good. Not only was it good, but they integrated all the digital tools from D&D Beyond into it, and it looked fantastic. And so everyone's now saying, well, because D&D has to pivot because they know they're going to lose Critical Role. But Legends of Avantras, I actually worked with them. They were awesome. They're really nice guys, and they actually did some. I sent you that ad. Remember that ad they did for us with the puppets?
Yeah, it was kind of weird, but it had its own. It had its own sense of humor.
It was so funny. It's so funny. It was really funny. I know it was like, what the hell does this have to do with our Kickstarter? I'm like, nothing.
That's the thing
but
about
it's funny.
What the heck does it have to do with our Kickstarter was part of it, but it did have its own sense of humor.
It was so funny. It was really, because the puppets were going insane, and then had to keep interrupting. Technical difficulties. If I can find it, I'll send it. It was one of the funniest things I ever saw. So they're really good to work with. But from what I know is that it looks like, because Daggerheart is like going absolutely bonkers in sales, and it looks like they're going to move. It looks like they're going to move away from D&D officially and just go to Daggerheart. By the way, I have something that I wanted to share with everyone. That's what I have, Mark.
What do you have, Steven?
I have the official sales for Daggerheart.
The full official sales, or just like from one sub channel that paints a partial picture?
A partial picture, but it's Bookscan, and that's as good as I can get. So, and that's more than anyone else can get. So that's as good as it's going to get.
I mean, other people can. It's something you can publicly go to if you want, but most people don't, because you have to like apply for it.
You need a subscription. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Anybody could get a subscription, but you have to apply for the subscription.
So from when it came out on the week of June 22nd. Oh, not even did. Wait, when did it come out? Oh no, that's not even. That's recent. Oh my god, that's even crazy. Recently. Oh my god. Okay. When it came out on June 1st, it wasn't even ranked. The next week, June 8th, wasn't even ranked. The next week, June 15th, ranked for all hardcovers being sold, it was ranked 94. Okay, that's all hardcovers, all hardcover books, according to Bookscan. Then the week of the 22nd, it was ranked 60, as in 60, for all hardcovers sold that week. And for adult nonfiction, it was ranked 29. That is ridiculously high. I mean, I was like, oh my God, is that high? Like, D&D didn't even make that. Like, those numbers were higher than what D&D made with their 2024 books, by the way. So their weekly...
On Bookscan.
Yeah, on Bookscan. They're currently at their year-to-date sales as of June 28th. They're up to 12,000 books sold. Doesn't sound like a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of books.
It's because it's just the ones on Bookscan, and there's others through other venues.
Small segment of everything. It's probably closer to 50,000+ if you're going to include everything. It's really good, those sales.
Yeah, because of course it doesn't include pre-orders.
Yeah, it doesn't include their direct orders, doesn't include pre-orders, doesn't include digital, doesn't include the free rules that people have been downloading.
Correct.
It doesn't include a lot, but you know what? Doesn't matter. It is a very, very strong ranking. By the way, they're only second in gaming in the game category. By the way, I was curious to see who was
first in the game category.
I don't know. I'm trying to find out.
Was it D&D 2024?
No, D&D is like their D&D is like way below this. Like D&D,
I figured it was that they couldn't have been because they're not selling through those channels.
D&D is like not even in this. They're like nothing compared to these numbers. Yeah, D&D is trying to really...
What was number one in gaming? Oh, wait, I think you told me before it was something that wasn't actually gaming. It was like some kind of like regular book that was vaguely on the topic of gaming. You said lit RPG is allowed to be in the gaming.
Here it is. No, wait,
topic.
I found it. Hold on, I found the category.
Okay.
It is... Whoa, there's a lot of games being sold. Right, that's the market overview, publisher rankings.
Okay, you said you found it, but you didn't find it.
Well, no, it's doing it. It's doing it in maps and charts. I'm looking for it's market overview. I'm looking. Oh wait, I'm trying to find it under bestsellers. Here, you keep everyone talking while I'm.
Okay, everyone. So, what do you think in chat that the number one is going to be? Keep in mind that Steven had said that like a lit RPG novel has been allowed to be classified as gaming in this one before. So it could be some weird random thing about like the history of gaming or a novel or anything else like that. Type in the chat what you think Steven is going to find to be the Bookscan number one in gaming book that beat Daggerheart for number two. Which also means, keep in mind, that it would have been like above 29th or whatever in nonfiction hardcovers. So like one of the top probably 25 books, hardcover adult nonfiction books, period, in for everyone.
You guys will never guess this in a trillion years. Ever. No one. If anyone gets this, you win a prize. You win a prize of, I give you a huge pat on the back.
They're guessing Draw Steel, Dungeon Crawler, Carl, Cooking Book, Delta Green, and Lit RPG.
No. I'm going to type it in. It is Myrtle, Volume 1, 100 Elementary to Impossible Mysteries to Solve Using Logic, Skill, and the Power of Deduction. That is the number one game.
There you go. It's a mystery book that got to count as gaming.
It counts as gaming. That's a gaming book.
No, see, you know what? I told you. I thought it was going to be some weird thing that we didn't think of as gaming, and that was right. But then I did pick a very wide and broad thing.
It actually looks like a fun book. I'm like looking at it. I'm like, wow, this
Myrtle Volume 1 being
this
in the
looks like a lot of fun.
25 adult nonfiction books, period, for the entire Bookscan. That's pretty impressive, Myrtle.
This is a fun book.
They must have done good elementary to impossible mysteries to solve.
Yeah, this thing is. Wow.
There we go. Maybe we should do an episode where we go through the Myrtle.
You know what it's sold? You know its its all-time sales are?
I'm gonna guess its all-time sales are 200,000 on Bookscan.
753,000.
Whoa! On Bookscan alone,
yes!
That's almost 1 million.
This thing is sold 1 million copies.
It wasn't even close.
Dude, we're in the wrong. You know what? I
was in an order of magnitude, but yeah, Myrtle's not even close to Daggerheart. It crushed Daggerheart. But
dude, call Jason. I'm hiring Jason full time. I think I'm moving my industry. We're changing. We're not doing this anymore. We're moving to puzzle books. Holy crap.
To Myrtle's Mysteries?
This is insane. I mean, that is like...
I can't believe that, but that's very interesting. And for unannounced things that we can't tell anybody here on the show right now, I think we may want to revamp to, like, if we can get him to do it, to increase the Jason quotient beyond what we already had. If that's how many people like, well, obviously, it's not like every mystery book ever written got up there. Myrtle must have built up a reputation for having very good mysteries.
Well, it's a puzzle book. I'm looking at it now. If you look on Amazon, I used to do these a lot when I was a kid. It was like they give the statements, and then you have to fill out a chart, like who did what. It's these are actually just nothing. These are just logic puzzles. That's all these are.
So what's the online mystery game Myrtle? Is it like Wordle but with murders?
Yes, it's called Myrtle because it's
That's
Wordle
why,
logic.
Oh, yes,
it's those logic puzzles that look like Wordle.
There's suspects, locations, weapons, and locations, and then you do like a grid. It's a Wordle murder mystery type game, and that's why it sold so much, because it was branded with one of those daily games that people played.
Genius. Doesn't matter. It still worked. Oh God.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that is not to downplay its success. That's Myrtle. To try to explain it in some
Genius.
way.
Maybe I'm gonna.
One of our watchers just purchased Myrtle Volume 1.
It's cheap. It's $8. You can buy it for $8.
It looks like it has a lot of mysteries and puzzles in there. Like,
well, also there's 6 books. This is only book 1. It's
only Volume 1, but Daggerheart beat Volume 2, which goes to show you the sequels just never do as well.
You know, I used to love things like this, but my job is so taxing on my brain that the last thing I want to do is like my friend, the guy who does my coding, Greg, he was looking at some video games. Some of them were like logic video games. I'm like, should I buy those? I'm like, dude, you literally code all day and do logic problems. That's the last thing you're going to do is a logic problem.
I don't know. Maybe he would like it.
No, he was like, he's like, no, you're right.
And I enjoyed Baba Is You, which is definitely has some computer style logic. It is a very tough.
You know what he got instead?
What?
Cookie Clicker. Yay.
Oh boy, brainless. But you said you liked Blueprints, which has puzzles.
I finished Blueprints. I finished it.
Yeah, that has puzzles in it, Steven.
That's
so
different.
Your brain still exists.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. It's a roguelike with a story, so you can latch onto the story. You're not like, it's not pure logic puzzles.
Fair enough. Well, you're right that Baba Is You does not have any story. It is entirely tough logic puzzles.
I couldn't do it. I tried.
Some of the harder levels of Baba Is You, Lyndon and I only solved because we were like, this seems to be impossible. But if it's possible, then it has to involve this because of the fact that nothing else could possibly work. And then we found some solution just by working backwards. It was very tough.
Yeah. I'm just looking to see what's in the best sellers. Wow.
There you go. Well,
here we go.
Good work, Myrtle.
The let them theory, a life-changing tool that millions of people can't stop talking about. 1.8 million copies sold. I guess people
But
can't.
that's not a gaming book, right?
No, that's number one overall in bestsellers. Number two is The Hunger Games, Sunrise of the Reaping. Oh,
I see. So the
1.6
let them theory is to acknowledge
million.
that other people are going to do things that you do not like, and you need to acknowledge that so you can have emotional peace and reduce stress. I can see why that might be the number one bestseller in the current times, Stephen.
I don't know. It's actually a couple of interesting books in this list. I don't know. It's just funny. I just always like to see what is selling here. I think it's like, it doesn't really take that much because okay, the number one best-selling book in 1 week sold 42,000 copies, which is a lot. But if we go down to the number 10 best-selling book, and this is Bookscan, which is in the world, includes Amazon, all this stuff, 13,000 copies. And that's number 10. That's the 10th best-selling book last week.
And wait, there was one week where you said Daggerheart sold almost that many.
No, that's what it sold total. That's what it sold over the last month. Yeah.
Okay.
But even things like number 20, it sold 9,000 copies. So if we go down to number 50, the Onyx Storm, 60,000. Sorry, 6,000. That's 60. 6,000 copies. And if we go all the way down to number 100 is 4,000, 4,800. That's it.
So basically, it starts not going down by that much once you get it to the 50.
No.
It's just they're pretty closely packed.
Oh my God.
The top ones that are high.
Project Hail Mary. Okay. Which is coming out as a movie. One of the best books I've ever read. Ever.
Okay.
Oh my God. Is this the same guy who did The Martian? And this book, The Martian's good. This book blows The Martian away. And the movie's coming out next year, and the trailer just came out. It's so good. It sold 96,000 copies. That's it. I thought this thing would have sold at least 1 million copies. They're doing a major motion picture over a movie that's
Wasn't it like a Hugo finalist that is having a movie?
Yeah. And that's it. That's all it sold. It's really not that great. And I was like 96,000 copies. That's it.
Well, maybe it was mostly not sold via this particular venue, right?
Yeah, but it's a mass market. You can pretty much guarantee through Bookscan, but
yeah, that's
if you guys
fair.
want to read a really good book, Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, it's like it makes The Martian look like a day in the park, because The Martian's like, oh, okay, he's stuck on Mars. How the hell does he get back? Project Hail Mary, he's stuck. There's a guy who's stuck 12 light years away. Yeah. It's like, okay, now what? And he's abandoned by himself. And it's like, oh boy. And it is great. We got David. You pronounce it. I can't read it. David Perry.
Okay, hold on. My thing just
David Perry.
glitched out.
He became a member. Thank you, David.
David Perry. There you go.
David Perry. I like his icon.
Thanks for joining.
Yes, thank you. I like your little icon. Oh, by the way, if you join our Patreon, Mark didn't even see it. I should send it to you, Mark.
I didn't. I'm not a member of the Patreon, so until Steven gives me access into it, I don't know
give you
what.
access. There's no way to do it.
You can give me like secret special handshake access.
I think they have ways around that. It's really annoying. I can't.
Yeah,
you
because
can't even,
I literally don't know. Steven might have written something in there that is really awesome or really wrong, and I have no idea what it is.
I wrote how we order art. That's what I wrote.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's really behind the scenes. Even I don't know everything about how Steven orders art. I know about the process that he and I do, but the stuff that he does behind the scenes with the artist, even I don't know everything about that.
Mostly it was between you and me and how we organize. Actually, you're in half the article. So if you join the Patreon, I put in a fairly long. I just went into it. I barely touched on it actually, but I did show a sneak preview for one of our upcoming. I didn't give any context, so no one knows what it is. But I did show the work in progress. I showed how we choose it. I showed the various stages, and then I showed the final piece. And that was it. And I showed people, and I basically went through and explained it. So I know people are interested in that. So we'll do behind the scenes, and then we'll do a meeting. Actually, the meeting, I'll do that pretty soon because I'm going to be really busy. I think the meeting will be easy because we don't need to worry about anything. Like we used to do that meeting, but it was kind of stressful when we did the monthly meeting. This meeting is literally we just show up and people talk to us, Mark. So
do you think we should do the monthly meeting starting like just after Gen Con so we could do a Gen Con post-mortem?
Yeah, we could. That's a good idea.
Although that will be in August, but
I know August is it's like every day and every month is bad for me. It's like I never have a good time to do anything ever because I'm always busy. Always. I don't even know when I'm not busy. But no, I wonder what that's
busy,
like.
And then you make things even busier. But
because
you know
when I'm not busy, I'm bored out of my mind.
You're always like, wait a minute, I'm in a slight lull at this point in time where it doesn't look like things are going into. Let's spin up 3 giant projects.
That's right.
Like, I have a few things I would be wanting to work on. It seems like, no, we have to spin up the 3 projects. I'm like, you're right that we do eventually need to spin them up. It's probably better now than later because the artists do take a time. So I'll do it. And then Steven's eventually like, how do I get myself into many projects?
True. But you know what? At the end of the thing, I wrote the whole thing. It goes, and here's what it took for us to get one piece of art. And I said that, and I looked at the timeline because I have all the emails. I'm like, that took about a month. And I said, let's think about that. It took us a month to get one piece of art. And I have to get somewhere between 200 to 300 to 400 pieces of art a year. I need to get that many pieces of art. And with Shadowdark, we might hit 1,000 pieces of art. 1,000. That's a lot of art.
It takes because it's almost 500.
Yeah,
it's around probably 500 from the Shadowdark book alone.
Yes,
because of but now some of those are redoing in black and white.
Well, here's the good news.
Has a silver lining. But
I figured it out. I did the math for someone else. Is that if you do a full piece of art like a cover, here's the math. That will cost you maybe $3,000 and will take 2 months. Okay. You can do a regular piece of spot art, which might cost $300 and will take 2 weeks. Or you can do a piece of black and white art, which might cost $30 and it'll take 2 days. So that's the math. That's the basic
black
math.
And white art is like way less expensive than color art. It's just how it is. And it's because literally, of the artists charge based on their time and it takes less time.
Everything's a factor of 10, but that's it. It's like, so color spot art is 10 times more complex and time consuming than standards. So color versus black and white. And then cover art is 10 times more expensive and time consuming than just a standard full page art. Like I'm trying to one of our books, like these, like these covers. I mean, it could take them a month to do this. Like they're
so good,
very complex. It's
these
very
covers. Hard. I've definitely seen them. It's special editions, the regular editions. They catch people's eyes.
Well, this one especially. This one, whoops, because we do the wraparound covers. Like this wraparound cover, that took him like 6 weeks. That took him like 6 weeks to do. So, yeah, it's very, very long and time consuming. And more importantly, if you have one person doing it, they can't work on. So it's not like there's no economies of scale here. You got to get 20 artists instead of, you can't have one. And then they're all busy too. That's the other thing. My best artists, actually, I've been trying to get in touch with them for one of our other secret, actually it's not the secret project, actually it's already been announced. Eldamon Legends, all my artists are busy. I'm like, but I found some new ones. So I started sending out mass emails last night.
Well, you know what, Steven, fortunately, it'll be a while before I can finish the art brief for Eldamon Legends. So
that's fine.
if you find the artists in the time that it takes me to put out art briefs for like a number of Eldamon that is approaching the number in the original book, then it'll be fine.
It'll be fine. We do definitely need more artists. But I'm really picky though. That's the thing, because I get a lot every day. I get something from artists, and unfortunately, a lot of them. If you're starting out and it's an artist, here I'll tell you the secret is that a lot of people are starting out, but you are unfortunately charging the exact same price that literally people I've been working with for 5 years are charging. And, you know, there has to be a give and take. And I know it, like, you're just not going to get that, at least from me. It's like, look, you know, not for nothing. It's, if you're starting out, you charge less. And a lot of them, they just don't. They refuse to. And unfortunately, that's not realistic, because I'm like, you haven't been doing it as long and you're not as good. And these people are way better. And actually, a lot of them are faster. Like, they're better and faster, and they're the same price. So
it's tricky.
You got to give me a reason to hire you and try you out. And if you're going to be the exact same price and slower and not as good, I have no reason. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. But anyhow, so does anyone have any questions about Diamond or how this business works and why you should definitely not get into it?
Well, they did have a question that said, covers sell books. I'd be curious to know what a two-tone non-art cover design sells versus full-color fantasy art.
There's no such thing really as two-tone. Like the closest is like these, but these are not two. These use 6 colors, so these are not two-tone.
Those are really fancy.
These are actually more expensive. So you don't do two-tone. Okay, there's a couple of rules. I won't get into this. Someone I know, he did a cover for a book, and he worked really hard on it, and it was really beautiful and incredibly intricate, and he spent months on it, and it was very detailed, and I guaranteed it wasn't going to sell a single book, and it didn't, because that's not what sells books. Like anything else, is there's a very specific formula for things, and it's just, you gotta use the formula, and a lot of it has to do with action, has to do with telling a story, it has to do with padding and proximity and lighting and color schemes. Like, you know, like this is a good one. Like, oh, they're running away. What are they running away from? What's chasing them? What's going on? Is there a volcano in the background? Oh my God, there's so many things going on. Like the whole, there's like a whole story going on in this cover. And then if you flip it to the other side, oh, there's more people that are chasing them. Like, that's a cover. Okay. I hate to break it to you. That's a good cover. Okay. You want things that are dynamic and telling stories, especially if you are type of books. And then you have things like The Burning Wheel, which is a great book and people buy it for other things. I can't even see. Not only that, can you see the words "The Burning Wheel"? Can you see Codex?
I can't. I can only see the wheel itself.
Yeah, it says it right there. Like, it's like.
Oh, I can see where it is, Stephen, but I can't read it.
Right.
I can see that there are words there.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful. Actually, the inside of the book, beautiful. In fact, it's very nice. Very nice book. But, and I know this is a style, and this will probably work very well within the industry. But then again, what do I know? Because I would never say ever to sell this book like this. And it's Shadowdark. So what do I know? What do I know? I know nothing. I know nothing. So maybe you can't get away. Maybe you can get away with that. But even us, when we're doing our Shadowdark books, I was like, fine. Because I tried to do a traditional cover and people rejected it. So I was like, fine. I'll do a Shadowdark book, but I'm doing it my way. And if you saw our Shadowdark books, I was like, we're going to have a heavy metal, insane cover with heavy action. And we do. And now people are like, oh my God, look at that thing. I'm like, okay, see? So covers do sell books. But here's the problem, is that people want to believe things that they think work. I actually watched a very fascinating video yesterday because I was talking to someone because they are trying to do a Kickstarter and they're just so depressed because it's like they wanted to put all the stuff in the Kickstarter, and I was like, you can't. I'm like, you can, but it's going to cost 3 times what it used to cost because the prices are just too high with tariffs. And they're like, well, what if we say it was made in the USA? And I was like, I guarantee that will sell 0. That's what I said. I said, it will not matter. It's like, but people say they want it. So I looked this up, and this guy, you can look this up, just happened. Actually, it's very recent. It just happened a couple weeks ago. He's on Shark Tank. He's a very successful businessman. He actually makes shower heads, like really nice shower heads. And he tried to make the shower heads. He was affected by the tariffs. So his shower heads actually sell for like $190. They're very nice shower heads. And He found a way to make them in the US. So he did a blind sales where he made his store with 50% of the time it would show the USA, made in the USA shower head and pricing, and 50% of the time it would show the one being made in China. And the one in the USA was 85% more. And he was making the same profit on both. Okay, that's the important thing. It's like he wasn't making more money on the one made in the USA, okay, because it just costs way more. He sold 3,000 versions of the shower head that was made in China. Mark, how many copies or how many shower heads that were made in the USA, the exact same number of people saw, not exact, but nearly the same number of people saw. And so say 100,000 people saw the ad and 3,000 people purchased the one made in China. So the same number of people saw the same ad. Only difference was that it was proudly said it was made in the USA, made all that stuff, and it was 85% more. So it was like 200 and so 190. It was like 285 or something like that. It was around like sorry, that was manufacturing. How much do you think? Yes.
Okay, so if 3,000 people bought the one from China,
yeah, it was actually more. It was like 3,300, but yeah.
3,300 bought the one from China. The one that cost 85% more but said made in the USA. I'm going to guess that 200 people bought that.
Zero. Not a single one.
Wow.
Only
I picked something that was...
people added it to their cart and zero people bought it. Zero.
I already was very pessimistic, Stephen. I picked like 7% of the initial number. It was actually zero.
Not one. By the way, here's my TED Talk on Marketing 101. People will not do what they say they're going to do. Okay? People lie to themselves and they lie in public and they lie to others. What they do in private in their own home, it's not what they say they're going to do. And that's the number one thing that people is price sensitivity. It's nothing else. It's not where it's made. It's not who it's making. It's like there are some things in there, but it just all comes down to price sensitivity. So, yeah. I forgot you could find it on YouTube. And there was another thing that was like, who was it? It was one of the tool manufacturers. So tools just aren't made in the USA anymore. Like they're all made in China. And it really has to do with the tooling. It has to do with the tooling manufacturers of how exact. To make tools, you need to have very, very good manufacturing techniques because they have to be perfect if you're making a tool. And we just...
By the way, it looks like Alex M knew that it was zero. And Agile Monk sent the super chat, said, Mark, I think Steven mentioned your name in the Patreon article approximately 4 times.
Yeah.
Thanks, Agile Monk. I don't know because I'm not on the Patreon.
I know. I'm sorry.
See it.
So anyhow, what was I saying? Oh, is that they tried to bring all their tooling to the United States. I forgot who it was. It was one of the big companies, and it failed horribly and miserably, and they gave up. It's just not really possible. And this, so anyhow, yeah. So back to what I was saying is that the person who was like, can we make it a higher price and use American made? And I said, yeah, it'll be a complete and utter failure. That's like, and there's proof right there. It's like not a single person, not one person bought something. It wasn't like wasn't 2% or 10%. It was 0%. Yeah. Apple tried it. Apple had a very famous interview in 2017 where Steve Cook went on and explained that he says the exact quote is that if I wanted to find engineers that were masters of manufacturing, like tooling manufacturers, and he was in a lecture hall, he goes, I couldn't even fill this lecture hall with the number that are in the United States. He goes, if I go to China, I can fill a dozen football fields. And it's true. It's as someone who works with China, it's like they just, people are going to school for it there too, and they're being trained in it. Like, do you know anyone? I know a lot of people that are engineers, But is anyone, do you know, who goes into manufacturing anymore, or like goes to school for manufacturing?
I definitely haven't heard from a lot of people who listed manufacturing as their top thing that they wanted to do. But the older of my two younger brothers' wife is like in like mayonnaise manufacturing. She did chemical engineering, and she's like high up in the mayonnaise business.
Well,
but I don't think that necessarily she was like
small.
Thinking all along that that's what she wanted to do.
Right. Well, that comes back down to, if you do something small and niche, then you can get away with it. But if you're trying to do something large and at scale and compete with other people, it's just a different ball game, which is really I don't know how we came onto this topic, but it's like, well, I don't know. I don't even remember how we came onto it, maybe, but yeah, it was, I don't remember, but yeah, it was just talking about, I guess the comic books and stuff. Cause I remember they used to all be printed. I remember the plant. It was actually on Long Island when I was a kid, and I actually know where they printed the comic books. I don't even know where comic books. Actually, I do know where the comic books. So Dynamite prints their comics at the same place I print my books. That I know for a fact. So it's just easier and cheaper over there. Anyhow, that's kind of a depressing episode. Oh well, that is sad. Anyone have any questions or anything you want answered? Because today was really just talking about how geek culture and comic book stores and everything's going to go out of business.
Are going to get messed up by Diamond. But you know what? It's never going to completely die. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. Some people find new channels. Some companies will go down. Others might be able to rise to fill the void that's left by Diamond. We're never going to know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah. No, you're right. Right. Yeah, it's we have some new people.
I've learned some optimism actually from you, Stephen, because you inspire me by the amount of optimism you were able to still have after what Diamond did to your inventory, of just be like, no, I'm going to keep fighting. We're going to keep going. This isn't going to stop us. Like,
I still feel pretty good. And I feel like we have a good chance of actually getting some of our stuff back. But
that's awesome.
It just is like, it was like, even when we're talking about like Toys R Us and KB and all these places that I used to love, and they're just gone. They're just gone, and they're gone only because it was cheaper to buy them and tank them and liquidate them than to keep them in business. And it feels like that's going to happen to Diamond, and I don't know if anyone can fill that void. It's really going to stink. Okay. Someone's asking, are there lots of book distributors out there? How did the gaming comic book sector only get to use one company? Hey man, if you really want to know, if you really want to go down that rabbit hole, there's basically like 10 companies. I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not. There's basically like 10 companies that kind of run the world that own trillions and trillions of it. Like if you go down and see all the manufacturing, there's only like 5 companies that manufacture most of household goods, and that's it. There's thousands of sub companies, but then those are owned by another. And if you go all the way up the line, there's just one company, and that owns all of them. The same way, like if you go and look at Coke and Pepsi, here's the best example. There's Coke and there's Pepsi. Well, Coke and Pepsi have hundreds of sub brands, but other than Coke and Pepsi, they're pretty much the only game in town. Like if one of them went out of business, you would lose pretty much half of the soda and beverage distribution in the world. They would just go away because they own just about everything. And they do it on purpose, because if someone comes around like Smart Water and they start doing really well, they buy them up to make sure that they can't become the third Coke and Pepsi. They buy them up before they can get too big. So all these companies are really owned by very few numbers. You do that with a very small market like comics and books, the same thing happens. It's going to be more efficient, and it just becomes hard to compete with 1 or 2 companies that has their hands in every pie in every bookstore and has the best channels of distribution and has the best ways to get those books around. The problem is when they go out of business, they take everyone down with them, and that's exactly what's happening. The same way when Tower Records and all these record stores. Remember how many record stores used to be around? And like when Tower Records and FEA or FEI, like a couple of those went out, or Virgin, they just took everyone with them. They're like gone. When Toys R Us went out of business, toy stores, they're gone. You know, there's like,
it just
it's like,
seems to be a business model for some companies where they like get a lot of investment so they can run things sometimes even at a loss, taking down everyone else so that they're the only one in town because they're so much cheaper since they're running at a loss. And then afterwards, they either go down or they just make it worse or upcharge once they've killed everybody else, right? Yeah. It's like how ride shares did stuff to the like local taxi scenes.
Well, if you really want to look into it, in the 90s, Microsoft was the king of this. Microsoft would go into every single market, no matter what, just to be in there so that no one else would go into it. They're very famous for this. There's a lot of books written on this, but what Microsoft would do is, so Microsoft, if the perfect example is that AT&T came out with a tablet, and it was called the Go or something. I forgot the name of it, but AT&T had the very first tablet. This was after the Newton, but it was actually closer to an iPad, and Microsoft saw that and decided that they were going to come out with the tablet, and they went to every single trade show. They would constantly advertise it. They would constantly show it off. It was vaporware, never existed. It was they only did it to make sure that AT&T never released theirs. There was no other reason for them to do it. AT&T didn't. And by the way, the guy who started that company started eBay. So you can't keep someone really good down. He literally pivoted from that and went to eBay. I forgot the name. There's a book about it. It's really fascinating. And then I read this like a long time ago. The way that Microsoft actually got defeated was fascinating. The way they got defeated was Google decided to charge nothing for email. I don't know if you remember this. Of course, now it costs money. Email costs money. And email, not only did email cost money, but it was expensive and you got crap. It was slow. You got no storage. You had to use their interface. It was garbage. And then Google came around, and I remember this happened overnight. They said, oh, you have 1 gig for free? Or sorry, you have 10 megs on your email and it costs you $20 a month. Yahoo. Okay, we're going to give you 1 gig for free. And it was like, oh my God, wait a second. What are you doing? How can you compete against that? It's like, how are you going to compete against someone giving you 20 times more storage space for free? And every single one of them, the first thing they had to do is Yahoo and all these other companies and Hotmail, they immediately had to increase their storage space for everyone to keep them. They had to beat Google. So they're like, oh crap. Okay. You went from 10 megs to 2 gigs. So which would jack their prices up, huge amounts. And it didn't work. And then Gmail took over. Gmail literally took over because their business model was we give everything away for free. And how do you beat that? Microsoft isn't going to give it away for free. You used to have to pay for the browser. I don't know if you remember that. You had to pay for the browsers originally. Actually, they did give it away for free. Here we go. You want the biggest dick move in the history of business? Microsoft bought the company that made their browser. What's it? Internet Explorer. And what they did in the contract is that Microsoft put in the contract because they wanted to get royalties, and Microsoft never pays royalties. Microsoft, nope, will never pay royalties. And they says, no, we insist that you pay us royalties. We want it. So Microsoft said, okay, we'll tell you what, we'll pay you less for it, and we'll give you $1 for every time we sell Microsoft Internet Explorer. And they said, okay, thinking they're going to become billionaires. And then as soon as they did that, they signed the contract, they decided to give away Microsoft Explorer for free. And the contract was very clearly stated that they get a percentage of the sale of what they made, and they make nothing, so they get nothing. How about that? That is like, it's considered like one of the all-time worst moves in history, like biggest dick moves in history. Like, oh, it's like, you got nothing. And you got nothing. Like, how can they give that away for free? It's like, because it's Microsoft, baby.
There we go. Maybe we could do an entire stream on like the history of the distribution channels and how it got into the state where it is. If people were interested, like, because Steven, you've been following comics distribution for a long time, because you lived near Marvel and you would go down to the Marvel offices or whatever when you were younger.
3
so
blocks.
you might have like a history throughout the decades of like how the distribution got to where it is.
Yeah.
Maybe not for today, since we're almost at 5, but like for a different episode.
Yeah. People are actually, Project Hail Mary sold millions of audiobooks. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I figured, you know what? You don't know what these are because like Kindle Unlimited, it doesn't count. Library books don't count. Audiobooks don't count. So I'm sure it did very, very well. So is there another comic book? Yeah, there's actually a couple of comic book distributors besides Diamond, but Diamond's the biggest. And more importantly, like when Toys R Us went out of business, you can argue, this is actually the closest analogy. When Toys R Us went out of business, it was like, well, how bad can it be for Marvel? Not Marvel. How bad can it be for Mattel and Hasbro? And it's like, well, they sell toys. They sell toys themselves. They through private channels. They sell it at hobby stores. They sell it at Target. They sell it at Walmart. It's not that bad. No, it was really bad. Okay. They lost like one of their absolute main channels of distribution. They lost it was a massive blow, and they lost a tremendous amount of profit and sales because of that. One of their massive sales channels just went down and was never replaced. So that's what this is like. It's like, is Diamond going to go out of business? Is like really that bad for even like myself? I'm like, yeah, it's bad. I mean, I lose a lot of sales channels that I had and now gone. But then you have people like comic book stores, like who were comic book companies that are selling through. There's basically 6 distributors, so they sell through all of them. But the Diamond was the biggest, so now they have to go through the other 5, and maybe the other 5 will take up the slack. But it's not that simple. It's not something that they do in a day or a week or a month. It can take years for this to get up to speed. It's extremely slow. And these companies are not designed to handle things that are happening on a dime. So, yeah, it's really bad.
It makes sense because there's so many connecting pieces, right? Because you might find another distributor that you want to use, but if it's not being used on both ends of the supply chain and somebody doesn't know that name and doesn't trust it yet, it can take a while to establish itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not even that. It's like you have to there's so many things. You have to actually take your products and then you have to get them from one warehouse to another. And you have to get all your products into their inventory, and then they have to get it out to their stores, and they have to get into the point of sale systems, and then they have to actually ship it out to the warehouse. It's such a nightmare. It's so much.
But if like you're a comic company or you're Steven or something like that, and some small distributor that's a scrappy up and comer convinces you that to use them, that doesn't mean that like Barnes and Noble or Books A Million is going to be like okay with that, right? They might not trust this new distributor that they've never heard of. They might not want to do business with them. So like that's going to be a problem, is that it could be a catch-22 where both sides of the channel are like, who do you have on the other side? And then they're like, well, we don't have anyone because we're trying to get people. You see what I mean?
People are reading, they're like, one of the reasons they love Roll for Combat is that there's a big chat and discussion about the soda wars.
I mean, we've discussed the soda wars out loud on this channel as the actual,
more than once.
Not the official topic it was supposed to be, but a random side tangent for like half an hour one time.
Well, I learned a lot. I actually worked for Pepsi, and I wrote the point of sale system for them, and I learned a lot about the soda industry, and it was really fascinating. But the one thing I remember, they're actually their headquarters is right by my house, that's the funny thing. I drive by it all the time. And one of their headquarters, I don't know if it still is. This is like 25 years ago, so I think they're still there. I went to their offices, and every single thing was in the Pepsi font, and even like they had like the recycling bins that had Pepsi. That is the worst font. Let me tell you, that font, dude, that's like using the Star Wars font on everything. Do not use that font. It works well on Pepsi. It does not work well on anything So I was like, it was totally unreadable. I was like, ugh. It was. I remember that vividly. Oh, by the way, and then they had Pepsi products everywhere, and then of course and they must hear it all the time because then we get there and they have Pepsi everywhere, anything you could imagine, and things you can't even imagine, and they're like, "What do you got to drink? You got some Coke here?" And they're like, "Ha ha ha ha!" Like you always hear that. So, someone saying that Dr. Pepper sells better than Pepsi. Yes and no. That's very regional because, like in the United States, Coke does really well. You go to Europe. Pepsi destroys Coca-Cola in Europe. It's everywhere. Like Pepsi is everywhere in Europe. It's actually the opposite. Like here, Coke is always first and Pepsi's always second. But in Europe, it's always Pepsi's first and Coke is like a distant second, if not third. Sometimes there's other local brands that are higher. It's all regional. It depends where you are in the world. It's extremely regional. It's really interesting. Anyhow, so, well, no Derek to fill the signs. Derek had to go play racquetball. But who here is going to Gen Con, actually? If you're going to Gen Con, say something in the chat, because then I'm just curious to see how many people are going to Gen Con, because we're going to have some, as I said, we're going to have some pretty cool stuff. So Mark Seifter's going. Don't write in the chat you're going.
You said if people are going to Gen Con, they should put it in the chat.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Coke is #1 in the U.S. Oh, yeah, it's not even close in the United States. But every country, it's a little different. Like when I went to Canada, I was in Canada the whole time when Coke changed their formula. So I missed it. I actually missed the whole drama because when I went to Canada, I was in Canada for the whole summer. And what happened is I went to Canada, and this is in 85. So there's no internet. Like there's no way I would have to read about this in newspapers and magazines. Like I didn't know what was going on. And it was like, okay, they changed the formula. Everyone hated it, and then they announced new Coke. And I couldn't even find it. I was in Canada. I was in Nova Scotia for the whole summer. All they had was Pepsi. That's all I can find. I never got to try new Coke. And then by the time I got home, it was already gone, and they already switched to Coke Classic. And I was like, "What? How did I miss this?" Actually, I did try new Coke, and it was terrible. Terrible.
There you go. So it looks like 4 people who are watching are going to Gen Con. No Content, Numo, Gooey, Xander the 11th, and Nutty Squirrel.
And Mr. Blawface.
Mr. Blawface. There we go. Yeah.
Actually, our booth is right next to Gooey Cube. By the way, our booth is right next to the Gooey Cube booth. So I have a feeling we'll probably be hanging out. What did they write? Awesome. Says the U.S. have... I can't even read that.
Earn Brew.
I don't know what that is. Probably. I mean, we have that's the thing. It's the one thing is you could find anything here. Like there's actually...
Presumably it's a Scottish drink because of the many Scottish flags that appeared after that.
Yeah, it must be. Well, there's actually a beverage distributor right next to my house. And if it's one of those places that they just have everything. Like, it's like what you name it, they have it. They have one of everything. And it might only be like a 6-pack, but they have it. It's actually really fun to go there. It's crazy expensive though, some of these things, as you can imagine.
Apparently it is a tutti frutti bubblegum cream soda that is sometimes known as Scotland's second national drink after Scotch whiskey.
Nasty. That sounds weird. The one thing they did have there that I got is it was a beer, but it tasted like root beer. It's root beer, but it's root beer liquor. So it's like root beer, but it has alcohol in it. You can't taste the alcohol. Let me tell you, that's the first problem. The second problem is it tastes awesome. So I was like, I already got it. I was like, okay, this is super dangerous because I could drink 10 of these and I wouldn't even know, and I'd be totally drunk. Because you can't taste any alcohol in them whatsoever. And they definitely had alcohol in them. That's the only problem with a place like that is you can find things that you don't want. That's actually why I try not to eat desserts or candy, because I know if I start, I might never stop. So Mr. Blas says I will meet his cousin. He's working the booth. He might see me a bunch. He'll be in the Gooey room in the Lucas Oil Stadium. Yeah, I actually didn't sign up for anything. And so I think I'm pretty much working the booth almost the whole time, except for maybe...
I think we're going to have to.
Yeah, we're going to have to. Booth
almost all the time. Just from a workflow perspective and the number of people that we have, you and I are going to get almost no breaks while that floor is open. Only when Derek and or Linda come to give us a little bit of relief. And even then, we just need to, because also we need to be guiding some of the other people on it, because we're the experts at selling our own stuff.
But we're going to do that on Saturday. On Tuesday. Tuesday and Wednesday we can give them walkthroughs, so won't be too bad. But all right. So next week Derek should be back, and then in 2 weeks Michael's going to be here.
Well, because it'll be the day after the Kickstarter launch in 2 weeks. It's going to be exciting. It'll also be 2 days after the oral arguments for Diamond.
Yeah, so we'll probably know what happens. Yeah, we'll actually have a lot of information. And then the week after that, actually, we're not going to be here. We're going to be at Gen Con. Maybe we'll just be at Gen Con.
Yeah, the week after that, we will already be at Gen Con.
Yeah, but Derek is really good at bringing his equipment with him.
If we're going to do something that's happening during Gen Con, Steven, let me know what the timing is so that I can get in contact with those people who were asking us if we want to be in like a Paizo blog or something like that.
Oh, right. Well, it would be Wednesday. So tell them it would be Wednesday because, A, that's the day we're free. It would probably not be that bad. And because Wednesday afternoon, hopefully we have everything set up by Wednesday. So that's the first thing.
Well, I can check because they might be able to get us a staff member there to join us on that if we do a live stream live from Gen Con or something.
Yeah,
like
I can do it. It's pretty easy now. I mean, my computer is a beast, and I've done it enough times that it's not that. And more importantly, Derek is an expert at it. Derek brings his whole setup with him. So
Derek knows what's up. I saw that he did that while we were at PAX East.
He's really good at that. Like he has his whole setup. I have it pretty well set up. My last computer wasn't so good, but this computer is much better. And more importantly, the camera is. I bring the same camera, so it won't be a problem. The only problem is that we will need. When I did it last time, when I had Paizo on, we all had to sit right next to each other. I
saw that to make it fit.
You're like, hey, how you doing? Oh, because well, that's what you and Linda do. You guys sit next
that's
to
what
each
Linda
other.
and I do.
Right. So, all right. Well, I'm going to go back to working.
Take care, everyone. And until next time, if you want to battle the zoo, you have to roll for combat. See you next time, everybody.